Eddie, the time has come.
It is 1:15, 9 days before Christmas, 15 days until 2025, and I will be catching two movies in theaters today. The first being Venom: The Last Dance, and the second being Kraven the Hunter. Welcome to Initial Reactions, where I give my preconceptions about a movie and then my first thoughts about said movie as I'm leaving the theater. The origins of the Sony Marvel Universe date all the way back to 2014 with The Amazing Spider-Man 2. See, what Sony was planning was to launch their own cinematic universe based on different Spider-Man villains, and then having them come together for a Spider-Man vs. Sinister Six movie. And then you had the Sony leak saying they had spin-offs for pretty much all 900 of the characters that they have the rights to, including one for Aunt May. What? And then there was some confusion about whether or not these characters would be transferred over to the MCU. Then Tom Holland got cast as Spider-Man for the MCU, and that should have been the end of the story. But what happened is that we got Venom in 2018 with Tom Hardy as the Lethal Protector. And to the marketing team's credit, the first teaser was fairly atmospheric. It gave the impression that we were going to get a psychological thriller body horror movie. Instead, what we got was more of a buddy comedy movie. The critics weren't big fans of it, but audiences seemed to enjoy it, as the movie grossed over $800 million. Sony took this as the green light to charge full ahead with their Sony Marvel Universe, with Morbius scheduled to come out in July of 2020, and the Venom sequel to come out in October of that same year. Then the pandemic happened, and the movies got pushed around, with Venom: Let There Be Carnage coming out in October of 2021, and Morbius being delayed to January of 2022, before getting kicked to April of that year. Venom: Let There Be Carnage was still a sizable hit at the box office. Its domestic gross was almost identical to that of the original, but it struggled overseas. Then Morbius came out, and it wasn't the worst box office bomb ever, but it definitely wasn't a hit. The whole "It's Morbin Time" meme got Sony thinking that there was actual hype for the movie, so they re-released it, and it flopped even harder. I think it was around this time that Sony started to realize, yeah, this isn't going to work. I think it was that reaction to Morbius that encouraged Sony to push Kraven from December of 2022 to January of 2023. Then it got pushed back to August of 2023, and then January of 2024, and then August of 2024, until finally it got released on Friday the 13th of December 2024. And right before releasing it, they announced that this movie would be the final entry in their cinematic universe. Which is kind of strange, because if any movie should have been the end of their franchise, it should have been the one with The Last Dance in the title. In hindsight, I think it was apparent that Sony just wanted to get all of their current Marvel movies out of the way, because in 2024 alone, we had 3 movies come out. That's half of the entire Sony Marvel Universe slate. Now there's talks of rebooting the franchise, which is kind of weird because, like, you had these properties in your hand from day one. Why not do it correct the first time around? And it doesn't stop there. I would go into more detail, but the movie's going to be starting soon, so I gotta get going. What am I expecting from this movie? Well, I liked the first 2 enough, but I'm not expecting anything great from this. If I get more of what I liked from the first 2 movies, I think I'll be satisfied. But if it's anything like the last 2 movies, then Sony is wise to end it here. Alright, let's try and get that heating on. Well, I don't see how they could make a 4th movie. Well, the good news is, it maintains that level of quality that was found in the first 2 Venom movies. Bad news is, it's a bit of a jumbled mess. There's too many subplots and side characters. There's this family group that could have been just one person. There's these 2 scientist characters that could have been one person. There's a subplot about this scientist and her living through her dead twin brother that barely comes into play at all. Some of the acting is cringe-inducingly bad, and there's quite a few talented names in the cast list. but they don't really get to do much other than be generic stereotypes. Chiwetel Ejiofor is just the generic military guy. Juno Temple is the scientist I was talking about earlier. Stephen Graham is reprising his role from the second movie, but even he doesn't get a whole lot of screen time. Even Tom Hardy seems to be phoning it in a bit. There are still moments where he's clearly having fun with the character, but I think now that he knows for sure that his version won't be going up against any Spider-Man or won't be part of the MCU, he's ready to cash the check and get out of there. There are some decent moments, particularly in the third act when all the symbiotes get released. I'd only recommend this if you've seen the other two Venom movies, or if you just are really serious about being a Sony Marvel Universe completionist. Other than that, you're not really missing much if you skip out on it.
And you will become a legend.
When the man comes around.
Now here we are about to see Kraven the Hunter. Recently, it just came out that there was nothing in the Sony-Disney deal that prevented Sony from having Spider-Man or Peter Parker in their own spin-off movies. Which begs the question, what the hell was even the point of this franchise? I mean, could you imagine the box office numbers of an R-rated Venom Let There Be Carnage of, I don't know, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man teaming up with Tom Holland's Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man teaming up with Tom Hardy's Venom? That would be insane. But no, these movies have to be PG-13, except for this last one, which is rated R. And I find that kind of annoying because the Venom movie should have been rated R. Morbius feels like a R-rated movie that was cut down to a PG-13. I just don't get the logic behind any of these decisions. But enough about the universe itself. Let's talk a bit more about the movie. The director's previous work was a Netflix movie called Triple Frontier, which I remember watching a few years back. It was an okay enough entertaining movie, but nothing about it made me go, oh, this guy needs to direct a superhero movie. The same could be said for the writing team. It consists of a writing duo whose previous credits include the Uncharted movie, Men in Black International, Transformers The Last Night, Punisher Warzone, and Iron Man. The third writer is a guy named Richard Wenk, whose previous credits include the Equalizer trilogy, the 2016 Magnificent Seven, and The Prodigy. Again, they're entertaining enough movies, but nothing that makes me go, oh, this guy is a brilliant screenwriter. So I am quite surprised to see that this movie is getting the negative reviews that it is. I figured it would, at the very worst, get a 59-58% on Rotten Tomatoes. Nothing spectacular, but something that says, oh, there's actually some substance here. There's some actual quality. I've seen screen grabs of what the Rhino looks like, and, to be honest, considering how he looks in the comics, what did you expect? So here we are at the end of the Sony Marvel Universe. I have seen all of these movies in theaters, except for Madam Web, because that movie has the one trailer that made me go, nope, do not want to see this one at all. Morbius at least teased the possibility of Spider-Man, and with Venom 2 and 3, I had already seen the first one. And Kraven the Hunter, again, the trailer looked intriguing enough. Aaron Taylor-Johnson was pretty good in Bullet Train, so here's hoping he brings some of that action hero charm over to this movie. Russell Crowe plays his father, so I'm interested to see how they bounce off each other. Still, I am bracing myself for the worst possible outcome. Let's get this over with. The hunt begins.
When the man comes around.
Well, that was a disappointment. I just don't get... I really don't. Like, what? It's like this movie read my mind, saw what I was hoping it wouldn't be, and then put it on screen. Direction that's flat and boring. Action that's the complete opposite of exciting. Performances from actors who should be doing better. And the writing, it's like... it feels like a movie that was initially only 30 or 40 minutes long, and they stretched it out to 2 hours. But what's particularly insulting about this movie, it's that it's not even a bad movie. It's just... It's Morbius all over again. It's neither so bad it's good, nor so bad that it makes you angry. It's just stuck in this neutral point of being so painfully below the mark that you can't have any other reaction but indifference. If there's one saving grace, it's that there is no post-credits scene. So if for some reason you decide to watch it, you don't have to wait for the credits to end. But why would you go out to see this movie? You should definitely find a different movie to watch. I don't recommend it. I do not.